Hey, Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory goes unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha, Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings unto the elect of the nation of Israel, men, women, and children. Shalom. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Again, Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Right. So this lesson is going to be a quick hit brief, in which, yesterday I intended on doing this lesson. I'm off today. I fell asleep, long day, in which I'm getting it in now. Lord willing, I'll come back and do another lesson. But yesterday I found myself angry. And, oftentimes, we're going to have emotions. We got to keep them in check. Thoughts and feelings. All right. A lot of thoughts arise in our heads that we rebuke a lot of the times, that we can't portray them out, when dealing with the heathen, non-believers, people that, set to get up under our skin, and just the condition we're in, man. We're not supposed to be happy here. Now it's a balance to that. We are going to be optimistic in the midst of captivity. We have these hopes, these gifts, these promises. All right. Lord willing, our sacrifices found acceptable and worthy before Yahweh Shema Shah. And we're set to be delivered. But, right, man, we're going to be angry, all right, with this truth, with this knowledge. We want to rule, all right. The heathen are riding around on their high horse. They're falling, all right. But these Americans are still proud, rude, all right, at work, on the road. So a lot of the times we can find ourselves angry, but we can't act upon it. We got to pray and let that, captivity in society fuel our righteous zeal. All right. And how do we do that? Do it lessons. All right. The apostles been pushing exercise, allocating that energy and that effort and that mindset and that tenacity of being angry into exert it into a avenue, a goal, or a mission. All right. The truth, mainly lessons, reading, praying. We ought to pray when we be getting that spirit. I found myself praying a lot yesterday, man. Just angry, at a lot of shit. Being in this flesh, wanting to be right before the Lord, and wanting the kingdom of heaven. All right. Just examining, so, and sin not, let not the sun go down upon your wrath. So, eventually, as the day went on and I went to sleep, prayed, I woke up feeling a little bit better, But the scriptures say our hearts should what? Meditate terror. We look at these Edomites, man, and we not carnal. All right. We are in the flesh, but that don't mean we carnal. We're spiritual, so we're waiting on the kingdom of heaven, man. It says, thy heart shall meditate terror. All right. We're going to do some terrible things in righteousness to you Edomites, man, in the kingdom of heaven. All right. Even leading up, Lord willing, I'm of that number unto deliverance. All right. Isaiah 33 and 18. It says, thine heart shall meditate terror. Where's the scribe? Where's the receiver? Where is he that counted the towers? All right. So it says thine heart, meaning thy mind, thy spirit shall meditate terror upon who? The heathen, man. All this, this oppression they're doing to us. All right. The little smirks and remarks they do when we walk by. This in our life, man, you could just be, I catch a lot of shit, you'll be walking. Like, for instance, last week I was walking into the house. It was late night and this Edomite was just spitting and shit as I was walking by, man. I'm like, look this. And now if I was to whoop his ass, I'd be wrong. All right. But it's demons, man. All right. Motherfuckers staring upside your head, smirking and shit. We can't do none of this to them spirits, bro. Just going on about your day. That shit shouldn't affect us. But, we see it. We're reproached. The hate and the envy is a well and live. All right. And that's just the nature of these Edomites. They're proud anyway. All right. But nonetheless, we shouldn't be docile, man. We should have some dignity with having the name of our power, our heritage, the customs. All right. And Yahweh Shema Shah is the God of the living, man. He behold everything. Our wrongdoings, our shortcomings. That's why we should pray and confess our iniquities and sins. But the Lord see what these devils doing, from the least of them to the greatest of them. All right, he sees how they fucks with us at our job and do little remarks and smarts and try to trip us up. Whatever instances, the Yahweh Shema Shah is the God of the living. So, hey, the Lord sees what's taking place and he's moving. All right, what we see taking place on a major scale upon the world. But right, you had the blood moon September 9th Monday, in which it was not visible from Americas. All right, and a thing that was coming to mind as I was at work, I went out and tried to see it, but I Googled it and it wasn't visible from America. Hey, America is going to be the place where everybody's looking to in awe and in amazement because of the bloodshed that's going to be shed here and the destruction of it. All right, scriptures talk about the book of Revelation, how the nations are going to stand afar off, weeping for America, the shipmaster, everything that's said, because it's going to be destroyed, man. All right, scriptures talk about the blood is going to be up to the horse's bridle. The slain of the Lord shall be at this end, from one end of the earth to another. There's going to be dead bodies everywhere, and a majority of that is going to take place here in America. All right, so that's interesting that blood moon wasn't to be seen from America. Everybody everywhere else but America. Let me grab this. Signs. This is through the spirit, man. Luke 21:25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon. And within these last 3 years, there's been a lot of blood moons, wolf moons, solar eclipses. These are all signs from the omnipotent Yahweh Shema Shah, the living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to the world about, what he's about to perform. These were signs left for us in the last days as believers. So with us being angry, we ought to think about prophecy. Let it uplift us. Do a lesson. Go run. Go exercise. Exert that energy in a righteous, positive way. All right? And we can't crash out like the young niggas, man. On Esau chin, we can't do it. Like Roger Jackson. He hit you in the head with a bottle. All right? You should have, I ain't going to say what you should have did. If you was to do anything, it should have been, you should have retaliated in defense in that instance. All right. So we have to wait upon Yahweh Shema Shah, as the scriptures say. And a lot of people think that's weak. Oh, y'all niggas ain't about shit. Y'all just talking. Well, we'll see in that day of Jacob's trouble, in the time of famine and pestilence, and these martial law troops are here. All right. We'll see who was just talking. All right. We're waiting patiently. Scripture say, here's the patience and the faith of the saints. This is what Yahweh Shema Shah requires of a believer, to wait upon him until he rises up. All right. When Jericho was when it fell, we were given strict commandment when to shout, when to walk. All right. And then the towers fell, and then we subdued the land. All right. So the same thing through the spirit, receiving the kingdom of heaven and going through these trials and afflictions. All right. It's all right to be, on edge and angry. All right. Not all the time, but we're going to have that edge for the most part. All right. Nonetheless, Luke 21:25, which states, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations. We're seeing the distress of nations. In perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. We're seeing tsunamis and floods. All right. These celestial events, earthly events, along with other earthly phenomena, serve as signs preceding the coming of the Son of Man, Yahweh Shai. All right. So be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Lord, willing this edifying, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadah, Shalom.